our music. Hello everyone friends, welcome to the InStyle Knitting Studio. Today, we will knit this beautiful gradient cowl together. It is knitted by alternating stockinette stitch and garter stitch. You can alternate in any order you wish. In the center, there is a beautiful chain of elongated stitches. There, you can make it gradient. You can knit in a solid color. So, it is knitted from this point. No calculations need to be made here. No swatches need to be knitted. We will immediately cast on 3 stitches and start knitting back and forth rows, making 4 increases in each right side row. I knitted it for my daughter, so the length of this strip, along with the edges, is 43 centimeters, but for an adult, the length of this chain should be about 50 centimeters or a bit more. So, pay attention to what size you will be knitting the cowl for. I will explain everything. I will tell you how to work through some nuances regarding the increases. Everything will be explained in the workshop. I will provide the dimensions of the cowl diagrammatically on the screen. I wrote it in centimeters. The masterclass is very detailed. It's stitch by stitch. You will understand everything. All the lessons needed for knitting this cowl are available below the video. Also, we will have a timing below the video. There you will be able to quickly jump to the needed moment. Additionally, there is a written masterclass. It's on my site, as usual. I have a lot of masterclasses in text format there. So there will also be a link below the video. Go ahead. Download the document in PDF format and knit using the text masterclass, if that is more convenient for you. If you want to knit by following a video tutorial, examining how each stitch is made in detail, then welcome! Let's prepare all the necessary materials and tools, and get started with the knitting. For this work, we will need yarn. I will use Stockinette half wool, in blue and pink colors. Here it is, so thin therefore, I will knit with 8 strands. Here, the pink yarn is already coming in 8 strands. I will specify the consumption on the screen. I will also use needles number 3 and 5 on a long cord. We will need scissors and a needle. I use a regular needle, but with a wide eye, sharp enough to hide the ends at the finish of the knitting. Markers and a measuring tape may also be needed. I take a blue thread and needles number 3 and 5. And now, using a very loose universal method, I will cast on 3 stitches. We turn the knitting. Next, we knit 6 rows in garter stitch. All stitches are knitted as knit stitches, including the edge stitch through the front loop. We've knitted the first row, and we knit like this for 6 rows, all stitches through the front loop. So, we have knitted 6 rows in garter stitch, and now what do? We knit these sides, this one, and this one with knit stitches. There should be 3 stitches everywhere. 3, 3, 3. That means, in total, we should have 9 stitches. Look at how we knit. Here are 3 knit stitches. Next, we move to this side. That is, we are knitting in a circle. I will knit by inserting the needle into these knots. 1, 2, 'Now, let's find the 3 stitches that we originally cast on. That is, we move to our 3rd side. 1, 2, 3. In total, we have 9 stitches on the needle. We turn the work and start knitting our shawl. We knit the first row. I will begin with the wrong side row. So, how will we knit the shawl? The first 3 stitches and the last 3 stitches, we will always knit as knit stitches. That is, we will have garter stitch. At the beginning and end of the row, 3 stitches. So, this means the first wrong side row. We knit 3 knit stitches. There are no edge stitches here. Just knit 3 knit stitches through the front loop. Then, we knit 3 purl stitches. And at the end of the row, again 3 knit stitches through the front loop. In the first row we should have 9 stitches. We have knitted, moving on to the second knit row. As usual, we first knit 3 knit stitches through the front loop. After that, we need to make a yarn over. We make the yarn over by bringing the needle under the yarn like this. After that, we knit 1 knit stitch. Then we make another yarn over. And after that, we knit 1 central knit stitch. So, we will have a central stitch, which will always be knit into the stitch from the row below, not as usual knit, but into the stitch 1 row below. We insert the needle and knit it as a knit stitch. We have knitted 1 central knit stitch. Next we make a yarn over like this. We place the yarn over the needle. That is, we take the needle behind the yarn. Next again, 1 knit stitch. And once more a yarn over the needle behind the yarn. After that, 3 knit stitches. So, we have completed the second row. In the second row, we should have 13 stitches. We turn the work. We knit the third purl row. The first 3 stitches we knit as knit stitches. Here we have garter stitch. As always, knit through the front loops. Next we knit 7 purl stitches. We knit the yarn overs as twisted purls. Here is our yarn over. We knit through the back loop as a purl. So 1, 2. Here is the yarn over again. Through the back loop as a purl. 3, 4. And this yarn over is through the front loop. That is to create a twisted stitch. Here, and 1 more yarn over also through the front loop. Thus, the first 2 yarn overs are through the back loop as purls, and the next 2 yarn overs are through the front loop as purls. After that, we knit 3 knit stitches. We have completed the third purl row. Here we should also have 13 stitches. We knit the 4th knit row. The first 3 stitches we knit as knit stitches. That is, garter stitch. Next we make a yarn over to the central stitch. Here, it will be in the middle, the central knit stitch. We make yarn overs before it under the yarn. That is, the needle goes under the yarn. We made the yarn over. After that, we knit 3 knit stitches. I do it through the back loop, because I knit using the grandmother's technique. Again, we make a yarn over under the yarn. Next, we have the central knit stitch. We knit it as a knit, a decorative row below, so that we have a central, elongated stripe. After the central knit stitch, we make a yarn over, bringing the needle behind the yarn. Next, 3 knit stitches through the back loop. Again, a yarn over under the yarn, and 3 knit stitches through the front loop. We knitted the 4th knit row. Here, we should have 17 stitches. We move on to the next row. We knit the 5th purl row. 3 knit stitches through the front loop. Next, 11 purl stitches. We always knit yarn overs like this, to avoid any holes. 11 purl stitches. I knit this yarn over through the back loop as a purl. Next we knit purl stitches. The second yarn over is also through the back loop as a purl. Again, all the following stitches are purl. The next 2 yarn overs are worked as purl through the front loop to ensure they are twisted purls to prevent holes from forming. The second yarn over is also through the front loop as a purl. Now, we have knitted 11 purl stitches. Next, we knit 3 knit stitches through the front loop. That is when knitting the back, the edge stitches are not knitted. Instead, we immediately knit garter stitch on the sides. We have completed the 5th purl row. Here, we also have 17 stitches. Now we move on to the 6th knit row. As usual, at the beginning of the row, 3 knit stitches through the front loop. Next, we create a yarn over until our central stitch, and we make yarn overs by placing the needle under the yarn. We made a yarn over. Next, we knit 5 knit stitches through the back loop. Again, a yarn over under the yarn. Next, we have the central knit stitch. We will knit into the stitch from the row below as a knit. So, before the central knit stitch, we need to make a yarn over. And after it, we also make a yarn over. But after the central stitch, we do the yarn over differently, under the yarn with the needle. We made a yarn over. We knit 5 knit stitches through the back loop. Again, a yarn over under the yarn. And 3 knit stitches. This is our garter stitch. Now, we have completed the 6th knit row. Here we should have 21 stitches. We move on to the 7th purl row. I won't show any further. Everything is knitted in the same way. From the 7th to the 26th row, we will need to knit in stockinette stitch. We make 4 increases in every knit row, in the necessary places. We will start knitting from the 7th row now. It is a purl row, and end with the 26th knit row. After this, there should be 61 stitches on the needles. Well, I have finished in total. I have 26 rows of stockinette stitch here. But the number of rows needs to be odd going forward. Therefore, I also add this first row to these 26 rows, where we finish the initial 6 rows in garter stitch. So, overall, I consider that I have knitted 27 rows of stockinette stitch here. After this, we will need to knit 6 rows in garter stitch, making 4 increases in each knit row in the necessary places, that is, after the first 3 stitches, an increase before the last 3 stitches, an increase, as well as an increase before and after this central stitch. So, we will knit from the 27th to the 32nd row, 6 rows in garter stitch. We will start with a purl row. We will finish with a knit row. Since we start with a purl row, all the stitches will now be in garter stitch. We will knit them as knit stitches. So what? I have knitted 6 rows in garter stitch. I finished with a knit row. After this section of garter stitch, we need to knit 4 rows of stockinette stitch. And there, we will make holes. In the 4 rows, we will make holes in the 2nd row. Therefore, we need to knit in stockinette stitch now. I will now have the 33rd row. It is a purl row. This is the first row of our stockinette stitch made up of 4 rows. So, at the beginning, as always, 3 knit stitches through the front loop. This is our purl row. It has no increases, it goes on. So, after this, we knit with purl stitches. This way, we have stockinette stitch on the front side. Thus, all the stitches are purled. Here is the first yarn over. I knit it as a twisted purl through the back loop. All the other stitches are purled through the front loop. I continue to the central stitch. Here, I have another yarn over. I also knit it as a purl stitch, twisted through the back loop. So I have purled 33 stitches. Next, we knit the central stitch. It is always purled through the front loop. Then we need to purl 33 more stitches. Here's the twisted stitch through the front loop. Next, all the purl stitches are knitted through the front loop. At the end, also a purl twisted through the front loop. I have purled 33 stitches. Next, we knit 3 knit stitches at the end of the row. We have completed the first of 4 rows of stockinette stitch. I have 73 stitches on the needles. Just like in the previous 32nd row. Since we made no increases here, we have transitioned to the knit row. This is my 34th row. In this row, we will create holes. So at the beginning of the row, as always, we knit 3 stitches knit through the front loop. That is our garter stitch. Next, we make a yarn over. As always, we do this at the beginning of the row. I will knit 1 knit stitch. After this, I will start creating this repeat with holes. I make a yarn over, then knit 2 stitches together through the back loop, and 1 knit stitch. So, between the yarn overs I will have 2 stitches. Next, repeat the second time. Yarn over, 2 stitches together through the back loop and 1 knit stitch, and we continue knitting this way till we reach our central stitch. After I have completed 10 repetitions, I make a yarn over. I also knit 2 stitches together through the back loop. That's it. Next, I have a central stitch. I am now going to make a yarn over, which we always make before the central stitch. It turns out that these 2 stitches do not count in my repetitions. So, I need a yarn over, 2 stitches together, and I also need 1 more knit stitch. But this 1 knit stitch we knitted at the start of the row after our yarn over. Therefore, this is our 11th repeat. Now we make a yarn over, as always before the central stitch, like this under the yarn. Next, we knit 1 knit stitch below, as we always knit the central stitch. And again a yarn over already over the yarn, needle over the yarn, that's all. After this we need to knit here just as we did here but in a mirrored way. So, we did a yarn over. Then we knit 2 stitches together through the back loop. And we made a yarn over again, but this time we do the yarn over like this. Just as we always made the yarn over, creating holes. So, this will be our hole. And now, we start to knit our repetitions. There will also be 10, just like on this side, but already in reverse order, 1 knit stitch. Next, 2 stitches together and yarn over, 1 repeat. Next, the second knit stitch, 2 stitches together, yarn over. I completed 10 repetitions. Here is my last yarn over. After this, we knit 1 knit stitch, just as we knitted at the start of the row, because here we knitted 2 stitches together and a yarn over. This means we are still missing 1 knit stitch for a complete repeat. Knit stitch, then we do a yarn over just as we always do at the end of the row over the yarn. And we knit 3 knit stitches. Alright, we have completed this row. Now, we move to the purl side. We knit 35 rows, just like in the previous one. There should be 77 stitches. So, the first 3 stitches are edge stitches. We knit them as knit stitches through the front loop. Then we knit with purl stitches. However, the yarn overs that we keep making need to be knit as twisted stitches. All other yarn overs will be knit in such a way that holes are formed. So, for the first yarn over, we knit it as a twisted purl, meaning we knit it through the back loop as a purl. Next, we continue with purl stitches. By the way, the yarn over after the first purl goes through the back loop. Thus, to form a hole, a regular purl, All other stitches are purl stitches. And these yarn overs are done in such a way to create holes. We knit up to the central stitch. I will show you how to knit around the central stitch. Here it is, this central one. Next comes a yarn over and another stitch. I knit this yarn over in such a way that I have a hole. Then I continue with a purl stitch. Now, this yarn over near the central stitch, I knit it in such a way that there is no hole. The central purl after the central stitch has yarn overs that are knit to avoid holes. Decoration sole is a purl. There should be no holes here. And 3 knit stitches through the front loop. All in this row also 77 stitches, just like in the previous one. That is, in this row, at the beginning, at the end, and before and after the central stitch, we knit the yarn overs twisted to avoid holes. In all other cases, we knit in such a way that holes are formed. Here in the center we will have 5 stitches, and on the sides, we will have yarn overs with holes. We move on to the next row of knit. I am at the 36th row. At the beginning of the row, we knit 3 stitches with garter stitch as always. And in every right side row, we always make yarn overs in the necessary places. At the start, we do it this way. Then we knit all the stitches in the front for the back loop. I have knitted 35 knit stitches. Our holes are already visible. Now I have reached the central stitch. As always, we make a yarn over before the central stitch under the thread. We knit the central stitch into the stitch from the row below. Next again, a yarn over already over the thread. That's it. We continue knitting knit stitches for the back loop. Thus, we have again knitted 35 stitches. Next, we make a yarn over, as always, over the thread. We knit 3 knit stitches. That's it. In this row I have 81 stitches. We move on to the wrong side row. After 4 rows of stockinette, we knit another stripe of garter stitch, 6 rows. We start from the 37th wrong side row, and finish at the 42nd right side row. We knit exactly the same way as we did the garter stitch stripe before. Here too, we start knitting with a wrong side row. Therefore, we will knit all stitches as knit. I will not show this part anymore. We will knit independently. So, well, I have knitted 6 rows of garter stitch. My last row was a right side row. Now, I will transition to the wrong side. By the way, I have 93 stitches on the needles. Next we will knit stockinette stitch, starting from the wrong side row. I will not show it again. Here, just as we knitted here, we knit on the purl side with purl stitches. On the front side we use knit stitches. We knit the central stitch. Well, we know. When in knit rows the yarn is lower than the knit, and in purl rows, we always knit purl. So, I will now knit stockinette stitch 13 rows, making 4 increases in each knit row. Also do not forget to knit 3 stitches in garter stitch at the beginning, and the end of the row. After we have knitted these rows, the next row will have holes. That is, we will have such openings in the stockinette. So, I have moved to the front side. This is row 56 in the front, and how will we knit it? The first 3 stitches in garter stitch, as always. Then we make a yarn over, as we usually do. After that, we knit 1 knit stitch, and then we will start our repetition. We make a yarn over like this, as usual. Next, we knit 2 stitches together, knit wise through the back loop, and 1 knit stitch. That's what we will repeat until the center. until our central stitch, yarn over 2 stitches together through the back loop and 1 knit stitch. I made 18 repetitions and approached the central stitch. Before the center, we always make a yarn over like this. Then, the central stitch 1 stitch, lower knitwise, and the next yarn over through the yarn, all done. Now we need to knit the same thing, 18 repetitions, but in reverse order. We knit 1 knit stitch, then 2 together knitwise through the back loop. And a yarn over, that's 1 repetition. Second, 1 knit stitch, 2 stitches together knitwise, and a yarn over. I made 2 repetitions. We need to make 18, we have knitted. Now we have 1 knit stitch and a yarn over before I add stitches like this, through the yarn. Next, 3 knit stitches as always. In this row we added 4 stitches in the necessary places, as usual. And here we have 18 repetitions, 18 holes on each side. And in the center this time, we will have 7 stitches. Last time there were 5, and this time there are 7. Because it all depends on the number of yarn overs, as I understand. I didn't want to overthink it. Basically, it doesn't really matter here. 7 yarn overs in the center or 5 will look good either way. This is the 57th row. Here we will knit the yarn overs in the necessary places, where we always made our increases with twisted purls. In all other cases we will knit the yarn overs as regular purls, so that we form holes. In the previous row, I had 121 stitches on my needles. In this row, there will also be 121. So, we knit the first 3 edge stitches in garter stitch and purling through the front loop, as always. And this first yarn over, we knit as a twisted purl. Because we don't need holes here, it acts as an increase. Purl, and then we knit all the stitches as purls. We also knit the yarn overs through the back loop as purls, so that we form holes. We knit to the central loop. Stitch, we have reached the central stitch and the yarn over before the center is knitted as a twisted purl through the back loop. Then we knit the central stitch as a purl, and the next yarn over also as a twisted stitch. Now it is through the front loop as a purl. That's it. Then we continue to knit the same as before with regular purls, and we knit the yarn overs as untwisted purls. At the end of the row, after the yarn over, I have 1 more purl. Then the yarn over, we knit it as a twisted purl through the front loop. And then 3 knit stitches, that's all. In this row, we have 121 stitches. We turn to the right side. Now we need to knit more in stockinette stitch. This is needed so that these little holes are in the center. I will knit 12 more rows. I will start with a knit row. I think I have shown you everything. Now, we will continue knitting on our own. The only thing is, I will write on the screen the order of working these stripes. That is, in what order I will knit. Of course, you can change this order. So, we knit the stockinette stitch in the knit rows with knit stitches. In the purl rows, we knit with purl stitches. If we need to make holes in the purl row, we will knit exactly as I have shown. Only instead of knit stitches, we will be working purl stitches. If garter stitch starts with a purl row, then we knit all the stitches as knits. If it starts with a knit row, then all the stitches will be purls. Well, that's it. I'm going to knit. I will connect with you when I am changing the yarn color. I have knitted 12 rows in stockinette stitch and moved to garter stitch. I have almost finished this section, and I have 1 row of garter stitch left. Right now, I have switched to the purl side. I need to knit the last row in garter stitch. Right now it is 75 on the purl row. I will introduce one pink thread. I am breaking one blue, removing it. Instead, I am taking one pink thread. I have the yarn in 8 strands as it is. It turns out 1 pink thread and 7 blue. Next, I simply start knitting according to the pattern. This is my last row of garter stitch. The first 3 knits, as always. And next, for this time in garter stitch, I'm knitting all stitches as purls. Here is a crossed purl, and next, all the loops are purling through the back loop. This way, I will finish this row and knit 2 more rows. So that in total I will have knitted 3 rows with 1 pink thread. In the 4th row, I will add a second pink thread. By the way, I started adding the first pink thread when the length of this chain was... Well, actually this entire length is currently about 25 centimeters. A little more, a little less, approximately that. And at this moment I decided to change the thread color. Alright, I will now knit 3 rows with 1 pink thread. So, I knitted 75 rows. It was in garter stitch and I knitted 2 more rows in stockinette stitch. And now I have transitioned to the right side. This is my 88th row. I will be introducing the second pink thread. So, I knitted 3 rows with 1 pink thread, and in the 4th row, I will be adding the second pink thread. And we will continue like this. In every 4th row, we will add 1 pink thread and remove 1 blue one. So, we knit 3 rows with the same amount of pink yarn, and then in the 4th row, we will change the yarn color. So, this is actually my 4th row and I am removing 1 blue thread. Cutting it off and adding the second pink thread. Now I have 2 pink and 6 blue threads, that's it. We will just continue to knit according to the pattern. This is my right side. I am knitting here with knit stitches. I think I have told you everything. The only thing I want to clarify is that these 3 stitches at the beginning of the row and 3 stitches at the end of the row should not be tightened too much, so the shawl does not get pulled in. And one more tip, periodically count the stitches, meaning the number of stitches before the central stripe should equal the number of stitches after the central stripe. If we accidentally forgot to make a yarn over and the number of stitches is not the same, then if we periodically count them, we can add missing stitches in a subsequent row, so that our shawl does not become distorted. Now I will show you in what order I repeated the knitting of these stripes, and in which rows I changed the yarn color. Of course you can alternate in your own order. Well, I have finished knitting. At this point, I stopped, meaning my last section was in garter stitch and stockinette stitch with holes. I would have knit more, and then I would have started knitting stockinette stitch in this part also with holes. Yes, but I just don't have enough pink yarn. I have a little bit too little, so I didn't dare to start the stockinette stitch. And I will finish at this point. By the way, when I knitted the last strip of garter stitch, I worked these central knit stitches as regular knits from both the front and the back. That is, I knitted simply regular knits from both sides, just like all the other stitches in the garter stitch, to create a sort of appearance of a continuous edge of garter stitch. If all the stitches in your garter stitch are purls, then you will need to knit the central one as a purl from both sides too. So, the length of this braid is 40 centimeters plus 1.5 centimeters. The edge here and here is 1.5 centimeters. In total, it amounts to 43 centimeters. Now I just need to bind off the stitches. I currently have the purl side facing me. All the stitches up to this point were knitted as knits because I had garter stitch. Therefore, I will bind off in the usual way. I slip the first stitch as a knit. I knit the second stitch as a knit through the front loop and pass the slipped stitch over it. The stitch over the knitted knit. Next I knit the following stitch as a knit. And again, I pass this. The first stitch over the second, that is using the pass method. Next, I had a yarn over. I knit it as a twisted knit through the back loop and pass the slipped stitch, which is first on the needle, over the knitted knit. In general, it's a regular bind off. All my stitches are knits. I knit them as knits. And just pass one over the other. This way, we bind off the whole shawl. In the end, I knit the last stitch. And I pass this first stitch over the second I passed it, and that's it. Then, I pull the stitch a little, and sort of make a slip knot, if anyone knows who crochets. We pull the yarn and cut it. It is necessary to neatly finish this section, create a nice corner, and when closing the edges, I ended up with a braid on the wrong side. This is how I tightly close these stitches, because if you close them loosely, this edge will be very wavy. Probably because I knitted these first and last stitches, at least 3, fairly tightly. It would have been better to knit them a bit more loosely for even tension, both here at the edge and here. Therefore, check your knitting and close it in a way that works for you. And that's it, our shawl is ready. We just need to hide all the ends, wash, and dry it. Thank you friends for watching, and I will see you very soon in my next